Oh, Jason, you look so different. Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Cardboard and Cold Ones, episode number 34. For those wondering, I think most people in the chat will probably realize why Jason's not here. But in case you don't know why Jason is not here, it's because he is making a run at the World Series of Poker to earn enough money so he can buy himself the T206 Wagner. It's $1,000 buy-in, so I can only imagine what the how much you would win. I guess if it's $1,000, let's say, I don't know, 800 entries. No, probably more than that. It's gotta be like, I don't know.
I think top prize is 2 commas.
Yeah, I'd probably say so. But Jason did tell us. We were talking about this off camera, but he did mention to send him the link anyway. And Aaron jokingly said, "Well, if he shows up, that's probably not good news." So
He just won fast. Hopefully.
he's a card aficionado. I mean, it's probably a good thing that he didn't bring his poker set with him to Strongsville, because I think people would be out of card money. Or people would underestimate Jason thinking that they can get card money from him, but I wouldn't mess with him.
Yeah, I think he's legit.
He can read. He strikes me as somebody that can play like deuce 4 against someone who has like ace king and still win. So
yeah, he'll be playing for cards instead of cash. That might be a new thing for next year.
Well, can you imagine? Like, all right, I'm raising with a Nolan Ryan 68 rookie.
Right.
And then, so let's say that value is at that's like a low grade. Let's say like $500.
Yeah.
So, all right, I call with 571 Mays that are in like 4 or 5s.
There you go.
That's about $100, I'd say, right? Like a 4 or 5 in a Maze, 71. Probably.
I think we'd call it a call. Yeah.
Yeah, that's an even square off. Let's do a roll call. See who's here. Got a good bunch. I got the encyclopedias here. Who's number 1? Jayhawker, Mike. What's up, Mike? Jim is here. Ross Loves Cards is here. Dave is here. Hammer 44. Ruben is here. Jay is here. Top prize is $1 million. Yeah, there it is, man. Yeah. Did Jason get a little more? Eric is here, being very charming as always.
Yeah, he'll say reverse next week. I know how it goes.
Mookie is here from the Mookie Chilson headquarters. Pretty pumped for this. Yeah, man, we have a good guest tonight. Orlando is here. Glad Orlando is feeling better. I got a chance to text him a little bit this week. He sounds like his family is fully supporting him, getting better, and he's making good strides, and looking forward to seeing him at the National. Awesome. Jeremy is here. What's up, Jeremy? Brian is here. Gave the video a like. He is the captain of giving likes. And Mangini is here. So that is the roll call for right now. So our guest tonight, I don't know if you know this about Lenny, but Lenny is, I love a lot, like all the dealers I interact with. And when it comes to like some like the big shows, the Philly show, White Plains show, but Lenny is the only one who promotes the Cardboard and Cold Ones at the show. He will put a piece like a little, those like plexiglass holders, where you put like you would put a like a photo in, but instead it's Cardboard and Cold Ones. And he's like, you gotta support Cardboard and Cold Ones, and that's pretty cool. That caught me by surprise, and I was taken back by it. That's really cool, and I've interviewed a lot of dealers over the course that have been back in the hobby, and it's interesting to kind of hear the differences and just the experiences that they've all had. And I think this is going to be a lot of fun to talk to Lenny and to get his perspective, because he's been doing this for quite a while as well. So, and he has a channel now, and he's been giving some insight there. So, overall, your experiences with dealers, what's your take from that?
I think the best interactions we have is when the dealer is really in the community and it's not just a business, but they're actually like collectors. Like that's where you really get that like bond where like they're just as excited to pick something up and they know, like, I feel like they get to know your collection better.
Yeah, that's true.
like some of the pickups you get, like they'll message you and be like, "Hey, Sammy, I got this awesome fill in the blank," because they know what you're looking for.
Yeah. That's
So.
definitely true. Like once you start getting to know them better, and Lenny's no exception. Lenny, knows exactly what I'm after. He knows what a lot of guys are after. So he's always finding some cool stuff. But let's bring him in. You keep talking about him, but you're not bringing him in. So what's up, Lenny? Oh, I gotta unmute your mic. There you go. What's up, Lenny?
I'm here. I made it.
You made it, man. You made it.
You guys have infiltrated the CardKast office / workspace, and yeah.
Nice.
Listen, man, a very sloppy, messy room office is a sign of good things.
Yeah.
Especially when it comes to cards.
If I turn it around, if I turn the computer around, it's like I'm being bombarded just with, chaos. So,
I love it, man. I love it.
Completely dedicated.
It's got character.
Thank you guys so much for having me on. What I'd love to say about, being introduced, especially through you, Sammy, in the beginning, and getting to know, this live stream Cardboard and Cold Ones. I fell in love with it the first time, the first episode I saw. I think you might have had Brent on, so I kind of I caught on later. And but I just seeing the people and how they interact with each other. It is I don't know if you guys are familiar with the collectors group OBC Cards.
I'm not, no.
Okay, so OBC is a card collecting group that started in like 1990, 1991, and you'll see them walking around the big shows with like white and blue ball caps. And that was to kind of let dealers know, like, hey, we're looking for all your off-grade vintage. And back then, they would have everybody's set lists. So they would buy for their friends, and they would just send stuff to each other through the mail. And I thought that was, so anytime that they would purchase from me, I'd always hook them up with great deals. I just knew that it was going to people that just didn't have access to cards or just loved cards in general. And they did it was a lot of vintage stuff, primarily. So as a matter of fact, I'm, coming up hopefully soon. I'm trying to work out with one of the guys who's been there since 1991 and just have him as a guest on my own channel. So that guy's name is Sam. So.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
That's awesome, man.
And but yeah, the community reminds me, of that exactly, and it's just nice to see, and it's refreshing, and it's actually reinvigorated me, and I'm learning stuff, because even though I have access to a lot of stuff, I don't have access to everything. It's not like I'm getting in tons of pre-war collections or anything like that. Most of the stuff I'm getting now, people are retiring. It's like late 60s to mid 70s is the collections I'm actually picking up. 10 years ago, it was late 50s into the mid 60s, so the 40 stuff just kind of comes in here and there for pre-50, but it's always fun to see, and it's always interesting to see how people, view that stuff, and how the oddball stuff is the oddball Hall of Fame, golden era and pre-war has really picked up. And I think it's because of communities like you guys that say, you know what, like, look, I can have a 68 VGX Willie Mays all day long. I want the root beer, you know what I mean? I want the Transgram. I want the stuff that was so cheap 10, 15 years ago, and all that stuff is exploded. So
it's definitely kind of taken a shift a little bit here and there. So I've watched a number, or I'm sure we've watched a number of your videos that you've done, especially when you're a great storyteller, because you really share very vivid details about your experiences when it comes to the dynamics of setting up at a show. Most in particular, I watched the one from a while back about the one you did with at Mohegan Sun, and how much work goes into it. And I think a lot of collectors tend to forget about just the collectors get there and the dealers are set up, so they're thinking, all right, well, this is it.
Yeah.
But there's so much work that goes into being a dealer, waking up at the crack of dawn, having to load up a crap load of inventory, knowing what to pick, taking the time during the week to put stuff in top loaders or card savers, pricing things. And it really, it's a consumption of time. And when the big day comes, you're waking up early, you're doing what you have to do to get ready. And then when you get to the show, there's just a lot of logistics that need to be done first. And And your videos really kind of put that into perspective. And I feel like a lot of collectors don't fully grasp the nature of what it's like day in and day out.
Yeah, it really is a labor of love. I look at it as so Brian Coppola, who is one of the promoters of the National. I'll just name drop him. But we grew up together. We worked together. I worked for him and with him, and we just went off and looked at a collection not too long ago. I was going to run the camera on that because it would have been great for the boys to get back in the vehicle again, kind of like two old wrestlers sharing road stories. But unfortunately it was a somber situation, where the son passed away kind of like unexpectedly, and it was still kind of raw with the family. And I was not bringing the camera out for that. And the jokes and all that fun stuff kind of went to the wayside, and we just had to be, serious and just kind of just letting them know where to go with certain groups of stuff. Cause this guy had a wide variety of just collectibles in general. So they just wanted a fair shake of like, what do we do with this stuff? How do we chop it up? So we help them out as best as possible. We'll probably end up doing some future business with them, but yeah, it's definitely a labor of love. And like you said, it starts when you're buying. Like, I'm a collection buyer, and I'm only as good as my last collection. So, one of the things that it's like, just kind of like hit me in the head recently after I got done doing the Philly show and I came back with pneumonia and bronchitis. I had 2 weeks to prep for the White Plains show. Yeah. And usually I reload and I'll buy a couple collections in between. I'll splash some new stuff on top. I'll bring, add more bargain box inventory. And I didn't even have a chance to do that. So now I'm like, all right. I mean, Sammy, you get in like the day after, and thank you for all the, the video shooting and adding me to your clips and stuff like that. But, I need to like almost get you what I have in the beginning of the show, because I'm very price friendly, and it just, between the dealers and the guys who pay in to get early and whatever, I'm out of stuff,
It's super. Yeah. Your prices are super, super friendly. And like I remember you had, what was it? It was the Decal Edge Proof, I think, of Herman Munson. Yeah. And I know that Keith from Lonely Basement Cards, I knew he would go crazy over it, but he wasn't quick enough. And Richard Budnick from American Pastime. Yeah.
And Rich tried pulling out the price guide on me, trying to like, well, you only booked this, and the last one over here did. I'm like, Rich, stop it. I was like, these things aren't even out there. Go find these. I was like, you got that. That was like one time where I was like, yeah, I'm not even trying to hear it, But but yeah, no, Rich is. I've known Rich we've buy and selling each other, for since 2007 or something like that. So, but yeah, lots of. And the thing is. Like I said, I sell through a lot of stuff, and I didn't get a chance to reload, and now I'm sick. And I didn't announce this yet because I've been so busy processing all the stuff that I recently bought. But like I'm out of doing the White Plains and Hofstra shows. Like, I'm no longer going to be doing the shows. So
really, why?
I'm going to be Philly. Couple things. So I'm going to be doing the Philly show, which is 3 times a year. Never losing that spot because, Sammy, as you know, I got that prime spot.
It's great. You're against the wall. It's great. Yeah.
So, and all that's going to do is really, it's going to strengthen my inventory for the show. So some of the stuff will get past, I'm sure some of the dealers aren't going to be able to outbuy me on everything. I mean, some can, but for the most part, I really want to just, for the first time, just kind of wait and see and actually just deal with the customers that actually come through and wait and stuff like that. So, by taking away, for example, the East Coast National, I'm going to sell through everything in Philly anyways, because they get so much traffic. So, and like I said, if you price the stuff right, it's not going to last. So, and the thing is, I was looking in December. I don't know if you remember, Levi from 707 was sitting diagonally across from me. And I'm looking at guys like Chapel Hill and my buddy Henry Lee and like those guys who were getting up there. And I'm like, I'm 48. And I'm like, I don't know if I'm going to be, these are hard days, forget about the prep, forget about just the standing and talking and, the socializing. Like 10 years ago, I used to be out with the dealers, having beers, doing whatever and having fun. I crawl back to my hotel room and I don't drink anything, no alcohol during the weekend. Like I can't, not when I'm set up and doing the shows. So I'm taking a step back. I'm going to end up, I'm going to be doing the EC3 cons, which is, those are 3 multi-day shows at the Mohegan Sun Casino, the 3 Philly shows, and then I'll be doing local shows in Connecticut. For now, that's going to be it. We're going to see how EC3 con kind of, keeps going. And if I pull those 3 back, I might start setting up at the National and just do kind of like what Sean O'Rourke does from Dugout Dreams. And he just does the National and the 3 Philly shows. And now I understand why, because when you get older and you're doing the rat race and going from big show to big show, your inventory is getting bled out in a bad way with expenses. And, and then, again, just getting sick, it's just like, it's crazy. I just, and also too, I had a little bit of an ankle swelling issue. So standing on my feet for going from show to show, unfortunately I was, not blessed with great veins. So I did have all those procedures done, but that scares me. I don't want to end up with like a blood clot or whatever, because I was doing shows, so I decided to take a step back and, I'm still going to be Philly strong and still doing shows in Connecticut locally, and also the EC3 con for at least this year. But more importantly, it's going to allow me to get some more time to do some more social media stuff, share some, cool stories. I want, next year I want to get to Strongsville, hang out with you guys as a buyer and as a part of the community, not as set up as a dealer. I want to have fun in that way. It's a different kind of fun. I have fun when I set up, and I love talking to all the people that come by my booth, but it's work, and I want to have fun, and just bounce around, and I, get some guys hanging out. I was like, dude, Henry Lee, just stop it with those prices. Hook this guy up. You know what I mean? Just stop it, So I sold you that card. I know what you pay for, So we'll do a little of that, and the same thing with the National, So I got big plans. I'm not going to go out this year because I'm using that money for a project for the business that is going to be really, really cool, and it's going to be part of the channel. And so that's all I'm going to say about it. But just stay tuned for that, because it's going to be pretty cool. So.
You have me intrigued now, but I'm not. But out of respect, I will not ask.
Yeah, I am drinking a Guinness, by the way. Cheers, everybody.
Sure. Yep, I got the Zadies, who I've been desperately asking them to be a sponsor because I love their beer.
Yeah,
but they keep ghosting me. But it's not going to stop me from giving them free promotion.
I'm in I live in New Britain, which is actually called like Little Poland in Connecticut. Yeah. Big Polish community here. They got a great beer called it's Żywicz. It's how it's pronounced, but it's spelled like Zwick, like ZWI.
Oh, sure, yeah,
or something like that.
Yeah,
we talked about beer flavored beer like that. I taste that and I'm like, that's Rheingold. Like that's got that
crisp
beer must. Yeah, yep, just so good. But I wasn't able to get it, so we're doing Guinness. So
that's all good, man. It's Irish milkshake.
Yeah. So plus, I'm not, if I'm going to be talking, the burping and stuff, I don't want to. It's Guinness is low on the burp meter. So.
Yeah, I don't know, Aaron. What do you? I mean, I know you're since you're a guest co-hosting, since Jason is at is in Pokerland.
Yeah. No, I thought the opportunity to jump in, and thank you, Sammy, for allowing me to jump in. Man. I know you got a deep bullpen of friends that are anxious to.
Well, I kind of put you on the spot, and that was my.
Yeah, no,
last week.
Yeah, no, all good. I love it. No, the opportunity to sit down and talk to like a dealer though is always the coolest thing, because you get that different perspective. And I wonder. I mean, I was a dealer back in like the late '80s, which made me 12, and that's true. Like I would just go to like some Friday night at the park kind of thing and pay $20 to get a table. But I feel like that's changed. Like, I mean, between the big shows, but do you see that evolving into more? I know some of the big dealers are on Facebook, and obviously eBay is always going to be a thing, but is that a component of what you do, or are you show focused only and that's about it?
Well, no, I don't just do shows. So I do sell on eBay. Everything I have is branded. So if you just type in CardKast, like CardKast, you can check out my eBay store and blah, 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 whatever. Everybody wants anything off through, you contact me, just email me. Don't contact me through eBay, but, and I'll hook you up. But on a side note, it's funny. Like I just started entertaining, using the platform Whatnot, just because I am saturated in bargain box cards. I'm like, if I could sit home for 2 or 3 nights, whatever. What I don't like about Facebook, or even selling on Facebook, say like in a group, it's clunky to have to go back and add everything up and whatever. It's not really streamlined. I did that back like 8 years ago, and I was like, man, it's great because you can make good money over, say, like a weekend on, say, like a big sale, but then you got to go back and add everything up and make sure it's all right, check the orders twice. It's just not efficient. And I don't have a lot of time to not be efficient. I actually don't even have a lot of time to take losses on Whatnot, because from my understanding, when you start, you're not going to really make much money. You have to grow your audience and basically give stuff away, which I'm okay with, but I don't really have the time to give stuff away. You know what I mean? So I have the time to make money. I have the time to, do whatever, but like, I don't have the time to really set. So I was explaining to my buddy that, but I am starting to like dabble in it and just, if it's something I could do on the side at night or whatever, on the side of buying collections, processing them and doing whatever. But if I can do it, if I can pull it off, that'd be great. Other than that, I mean, that's pretty much it. It's just, for the most part, shows. And ideally, I'd like to wholesale to guys that do Whatnot, because I've been doing it with some guys, and it's great because I just, not that I'm not willing to work. I am. It's just there's not enough time in the day to hit all facets, Yeah. So, and as far as the future and shows and stuff like that, I mean, right now, it's funny because I would say that the show scene is extremely saturated, and would be even stronger if it was a little more condensed. But who are we to tell somebody that they can't make $500 to $1,000 for opening up the doors on a Sunday afternoon? And it may take away from another show, but I mean, it is what the shows are still, I mean, surprisingly strong, locally. I'm not talking about national or anything like that. The Philly show, those are different animals, but I'm just talking about, like, you hear somebody doing a multi-day show, just springing it up, and it's like, whoa, you're gonna be all right, to try to do that in June or something like that. Like that's rough. June's not a good month to run shows because people have been inside. They got, graduation parties, vacations are going on. They're saving for the national, so those are all factors, and not to open up a multi-day show in the month of June or even really July. So,
wow, cool.
Have you considered looking at doing, like, trying to see if you can get into the Shriner show? Because I know you live in Connecticut, so I figured maybe that would be instead of doing White Plains, you do that one.
I've done the Shriner show. I'd love to get in. It's probably something I should jump on the waiting list. But I got to imagine, because that show is just legendary. You know what I mean? Because even when the White Plains show, and I love Brian and Jimmy, even when they were in full swing, they, for the most part, they weren't getting PSA and all the auction houses, and I mean, that show just has age, like good vintage, patina to it. And Jimmy's and Brian's show do too, but it didn't, for whatever reason. Not everybody could get it on board. Like, again, for whatever reason, PSA wouldn't come out. They came out a couple of times in years past, but they weren't there at every show. Maybe it's because they did multiple shows. Maybe they just came out and did, the East Coast National, which is their strongest show. So, but I just feel that, and again, sometimes I was talking about saturation, less is more. So the fact that it's one time a year and it is long running, that show is just money, and I'd love to get back into it again. And, it's a thought, it's surely a thought. So there's enough local people in the tri-state area that know who I am. So it's not like I wouldn't, here's a new dealer that, I don't know who he is. Like I would have probably a little bit of a, sell through for customers. So,
Can you, I have some notes. So if I'm looking away, I'm just reading my notes. Can you share, is there a particular memorable deal or interaction that you've had at a show on the selling side?
Memorable on the selling side.
Yeah.
Let's see.
I've had some great ones.
Yeah, so here's a good one. Yeah, this is a great story. It's actually got a lot of humor to it. All right. So when Brian and I were working together, or I was kind of like working for him, but I was also working for myself within his warehouse on Route 34 in Derby. He had a collection come in. It was an older lady, and her brother died, and he collected cards from like 66 to 68. Okay. Somehow he had access to uncut sheets. So he cut up like, there was like a 68 Nolan Ryan in there where it was all like wavy and butchy and a little short on one side and like whatever. Sheen was nice. I sent it. So Brian buys the deal for $400. He flipped it to me for $600. There was a couple like Gale Sayers rookies in there, some Dick Butkus rookies because he got some Philadelphia stuff and whatever. So he presents the deal to me. He's like, it's $800. I look at it. I price out the stars. I look at the count, whatever's left. I'm like, yeah, that's done. 800.
Yeah.
So as I'm going through the bottom end stuff, I'm looking at these non-sport cards and I'm like, and I love non-sport. As a matter of fact, just really quick, I know we just went through Memorial Day. I didn't get a chance to do a video on this, but this is my 1953 Bowman Power and Peace set. The cards are absolutely gorgeous. I actually just picked this up at the East Coast National like 2 years ago, and I stuck it in my closet because I was like, I don't even want. I mean, these cards are just razor sharp, and they're just they're just gorgeous.
They were from what year? 1953. 53. Wow.
53 Bowman. Yeah. So, but I love non-sport, and I figure I'd just show some cards there. But I love non-sport, and so I'm going through the cards, and there's a Superman Tops card, but it was all like wavy, like hand cut. And then there was a bunch more. So there's like 50 of them. And I'm looking at it. I'm going, I've seen the Batman cards. I've never seen Superman cards that were colorized like cartoons, like the Batmans were. Cause there's the 60, I think the 66 Tops, the black and white television show that they made, later on.
Sure.
Well, so now I'm doing research and I'm going, all I'm seeing that's coming up is test issue stuff. I'm like, oh my God, this guy got a test issue sheet and cut up the cards. Now I paid $800 for the deal. I probably made $1,500 on the bottom of the lot. It was probably like a double up for me. It was a double up for him. But I take now minus the non-sport cards. So I take the cards, I send them off to SGC. They go in all authentic holders, right?
Mm-hmm.
And at the time I had a deal with SGC because I knew Earl from Earl's World. He was like the liaison to get cards graded. And so I paid like $7 a card to get the cards graded. So now I'm into the cards for $7 a card. I show up at January White Plains. By the way, it took 2 weeks for me to get my cards back then.
Right.
But that's not it. So anyway, the golden animal. 2012, when the hobby was at its most desolate, that was the golden era. But anyways, to get stuff done. So I lay out all the cards in my showcase. People are walking by, they're going, I've never seen these before. I've never seen these. It was such an attractive attention getter. So Huggy, who's no longer with us, rest in peace, Huggy, from Huggins and Scott, he comes walking by and it's like, I've never seen these before. And he's like, I had them priced out, I think at like $100 a piece, right? So there was like 50 of them, right? So he's like, you should put these in my platinum auction, whatever. I was like, well, when's that running? He's like, it's like the week after the national. I'm like, so August? And I got to wait 6 months to get back. I'm like, nah, I'm good. He's like, well, what do you want to sell them for? I was like, Huggy, I was like, there's no comps wasn't even a word back then. Right. So I was like, Huggy, I was like, there's no pricing on this. I was like, listen, I go, I'm at $100 a card. I go, I'll wholesale them to you at $60. I go, give me $3,000 for the lot. And he went back at his checkbook. $3,000. So I doubled up on the deal and got like a free $3,000. So then I see Brian and Jimmy at the bar. So I take $100 bill and I throw it down. It's like, drinks are on me, boys. And then Brian's like, I heard you sold the cards. We just all laughed. It was so funny. I mean, because Brian had them in his hand. He didn't do the research, he didn't do the research, and
wow.
And that was it. So
that's a good memory.
Len's turning water into wine,
So I guess it was 59 20, you got 2,900 left over afterwards.
Yeah, so they were 68 top Superman in the Jungle.
Okay.
And that was and they never released the set. What they did do was they made the smaller version over at the UK, and they're called the A and B C. So and they did the same thing with Batman too. So the cards are a little bit smaller, but the exact same thing. Card stock's a little bit different. Almost the back is almost like a little peachy-ish, if I use that word. And yeah, so it was a great score. Just clobbing on my buddies. So.
That's amazing.
So the one thing that, I mean, so there's a common theme that I've seen from some of the people in the chat. Like Brent said it, Mookie was saying it as well. A dealer's personality and being approachable and just someone you can, it speaks volumes. And anytime that we visited your table, you're always just super jolly and super thrilled to be there.
Yeah.
And for somebody that's been doing it for so long, I know it can become redundant over time. And how do you maintain that jolliness over?
Well, I think naturally I'm a people person to an extent, so I'm pretty much, here's the thing. I'm just going to throw a plug, cause I have a custom card that was made by, my friend Tanner Jones. Okay. And so he's got the cardboard. He's the Confessions of a Cardboard Addict, baseball card addict. Okay. And if you grew up collecting cards from 85 to 90, this book is extremely relatable. Okay. And I'll show you the custom card that he did for me about me once we kind of get into showing some of the cards.
Sure.
But he has a quote that I quote. And I think a lot of people can relate to the quote, and it is "Cardboard runs through my veins." And I love that quote, and it's true for me. I mean, I am a hobby enthusiast. I have here, just give me 1 second. I'm just going to it's worth it.
That's what we're here for.
Yeah, I have two collections that nobody probably would even think to put together or just, put aside. So when I buy collections, like I'm going to do a show about the National, even though I'm not going, but how about having a styrofoam Mr. Mint ball from I think this is the 14th National. I guess these were giveaways.
Jeez.
Okay. So I have that. I have an admission ticket with Mickey Mantle on it from the 5th National back in New Jersey.
Oh, crazy.
Okay. It gets better. I've got
people
are gonna love this. So these were the Hawaiian there's a Hawaiian set, and they did autographs of the players. And I didn't get those, but in this deal that I picked up, I have an autograph card of Kit Young. Okay, numbered out 500, and his Hawaiian jersey swatch on a card. That's an actual swatch of one of his worn Hawaiian shirts.
I feel like this is like speaking to Dylan's from Double D Vintage.
So that's one thing that I have. And then I have another, I'm not going to break it out, but whenever I get collections, sometimes like when you get older set runs, like from the early 80s, there's like Renato Galasso ads in there.
Sure. Yeah.
And so I save all those. I put those in things because I like to just go back and look at the pricing. There was a guy who, Ned from Milford?
Yeah, of course.
So Ned was one of the first guys. He was in a group of guys in the 70s who basically started the first trading shows in Connecticut. And so this guy that I bought out was partnered. Well, he was with Ned, and he called me from an ad, and he sold me his collection. But I have a note of his from a dealer. He bought a 76 Topps traded set. And on the note, the guy writes, "Hey, listen, if you're looking for another 75 top set, it's only $13 plus shipping." And I just love stuff like that. That's the enthusiastic part. And then even better, all the connections that you make through people. I mean, I have my boys that I grew up with in my late teens and early 20s, and we get together once a year, twice a year for birthdays or a celebration or something like that. I have probably a circle of friends. Everybody in my circle of friends that I talk to on a daily or other daily basis, I met through cards. And I'm talking friends going on 30 years. Yeah. So when I say cardboard runs through my veins, I can't even match that quote. It's true. And I think it's true with a lot of you guys too, and so, that's That's it. That's why I'm jolly. That's why I'm happy, because I get to hear your guys' stories of what you guys found when you come up to the table, and even just, getting something from another dealer at the show, or what did you get? Like, I'm always excited to see that.
Oh no, that's what I always do at the Philly show. I come back, I'm like, check this out.
Yeah. And I'm like, dude, do you need to sit down? Do you need a water? Like, what do you need? And I do that with a lot of customers,
man.
So
yeah, you're Mr. Hospitality, man.
Yeah, try to make people comfortable. It gets, because either way, like, whether it's to me, it's not it. It's funny because, like, I got in trouble one time for giving away seltzers at a East Coast National, because the concession people were like, no, you can't be doing that. You know what I mean? And I was like, guys are thirsty and maybe they don't want to pay $3 or $4 for a water. You know what I mean? But, I just kind of try to keep it on the low and whatever, but,
That's pretty good. That's honestly, man, that's super awesome of you to do. Because I definitely did come away with one bottle of water. That was awesome.
Yeah, just comfort, right? So,
of course.
That's next level for sure.
Yeah. So, I mean, listen, man, you've built an impressive inventory over so many years. I mean, it's, as you mentioned, you're always adding more. And I actually know that you sold a bunch of stuff to Mike from Fishkill recently.
Yes.
Yeah, because I was at the Fishkill show. He told me that he bought a bunch of stuff from you, and I thought that was like, this hobby, it
gets small, yeah. And you know what? That deal that we did was the first deal we ever did. I didn't even know who he was.
Yeah, Mike's a good guy. I like him.
I met him at the Orange Show. Yeah. And I plan on seeing him again. I think at the next Orange Show, which is the following week. So I'm set up at the Bristol show in Connecticut. They're Cliff's and Alex's. They're doing like a one-day big show. So I'll be there this Saturday, and then I think I'll see Mike in Orange again. And I got like another round of stuff for him. So it's just easier to, if you could work out a deal with somebody like that, he's great to do business with. You know what I mean?
No, I've done business with him too. I sold a bunch of my graded stuff to him recently.
Yep.
And,
he's very fair.
He's right here. Yeah.
Oh, hey.
I will be
back. All right, Mike, I got more stuff for you. Get ready.
Yeah, Mike is awesome. Actually, I was thinking about him today because he's running the Fishkill show. He's doing it next week, next Saturday, and so like. I've been starting to set up there again because I love doing the Fishkill show. Just love being there. The atmosphere is great. And so, Mike, I'll be reaching out to you. I'm not 100% sure right now just because work is a lot of overtime right now. So, yeah. He says he's ready for that. So,
all right.
But, I'll be reaching out to you and hopefully letting you know sooner rather than later if I can come through, if there's tables left. Of course, I don't want to assume anything here, but let's see. Oh, Mookie's got a good one for you here. Tell us a good story of a card or a deal that got away. People always remember the stuff that they didn't.
Yeah. Oh, it burns. It hurts. Especially when you're helping out a friend recently, and you're doing like small timey business, and it's like, all right, I'll come. Made me come down, and somebody called me off of my website, and it's so messed up. I was like, send me some pictures of what he's like, I got stuff from the 50s and 60s. Like, okay, can you send me a couple pictures? He started sending me pictures. I'm like, this is why you play the game, right? And there was like, 54 Banks rookie, 54 Jackie, 54 K-line. There's some 53s. There's a 53 Jackie in there, right? All off grade, lower to off grade, whatever. And I'm like, and it was like kind of virgin. I sensed that the guy inherited it or God forbid stole it. But anyways, he's at the top of the state. He calls me. I'm like at somebody's warehouse, somebody that I do business with. And so I'm trying to work the things out. And he's like, I'm walking into a card store right now. And I'm like, here we go. I'm like, you're calling me and walking into a card store? I was like, what would it take for you to not walk into the card store? It's like, bet you I can at least match or beat his price. I don't know, man. Whatever. It's like, so he ended up going in. I was like, all right, if you don't sell it, let me know. And I said, by the way, I said, the Jackie's probably a $1,500 to $2,000 card. I was like, you got this, you got that. I was like, it looks like it's VGX, whatever. I was telling him, like, do not sell the stuff for $500 to $1,000. If you do, you're missing out. So at least know that, right? You have thousands of dollars worth of stuff. Do not give it away. So, and I was like, please call me and let me know. So I texted him the next morning. He didn't get back. And then he texted me like 2 days later and was like, he's like, I have these publications, like Sports Illustrateds and whatever. I'm like, I'm good, man. Thank you. Thanks for working with me, but that's,
So did he end up selling it to the card shop?
Yeah, he sold it. Yeah. Yep.
Did he end up getting, did he tell you how much he sold it for?
No, and I didn't want to go down that road. So like, it was kind of, I'm like, I'm good. But yeah, I mean, there's times, I had somebody at my house recently that I quoted him a price on near mint sets, and he was like, I'll get back to you, like in a week or something like that. And my impression was that he wasn't going to shop it around, and then he did, and I guess he got like $200 more. And I'm like, okay, great, but so it's competitive out there. You just got to realize that. I mean, for the longest time, I didn't have to worry about competition. You know what I mean? So it was, especially going back 10, 15 years ago, you could, it was such a good, for me, I felt, for the person I was dealing with, it was good to not use car sales tactics on the person selling the cards. You got to do it now, or I'm not going to, whatever, or like, or you're forcing impression. Because the last thing you want to do too is you don't want to deal with somebody that's going to have seller's remorse. You know what I mean? Because that's the worst. Because then it's just, because now you did a lot of work, and if you have to reverse it, it sucks, because now you have everything because now you're emotionally involved and this and that, and then you might have already put work into it or whatever, and that rarely happens with me. Maybe once every 3 or 4 years, somebody like just wants to back out after you already did the deal, so it gets a little messy there. But yeah, ideally, but now, I mean, you almost kind of have to, instead of taking your foot out completely off the gas pedal, you got to put a little bit of pressure on, because just there's snakes out there, and there's people out there that have money that don't even know what they're doing, so, that's the other side of it. So,
it's really good insight. I mean, and I appreciate your open and honesty about all of this, because I feel as though you're kind of lifting, there's a certain, like a little bit of a curtain you're lifting between that side of being like the collector's side and the dealer's side. And
what do you want to know about Golden Auctions? Because I worked there for 2 months. So no, I did. So, I was their auction man. I was their auction manager for 2 months. So
the viewership's about to go up right now, man. If we're gonna go that route,
back in 2022. No, okay. You know what? Honestly, I'll be honest with you. I was only there for 2 months, and it was actually during COVID. So it was the end of 2021 going into 2022. And Dave Ammerman, okay, who was like their lead auction consignment director, he just needed help. So what was happening was their platform crashed that summer, okay? And so because there was too many users that were jumping on it. So unfortunately, they had a tech issue that they were working that out as I was there, but it was so cumbersome for me, who's not. I mean, Sammy, I just explained. I'm not a tech guy. I can get through things, but I was like, they're like, "How are you on Microsoft Excel?" I was like, "Well, I use it for my accounting, but I'm not like." They're like, before now I'm doing reverse V lookups and source mapping, and I'm like, and it's still like you could still work with a dirty sheet, and there, So what happened was you had to build an auction on one platform and then transfer it over you had to build it in the old one and transfer into the new one, because you couldn't move stuff around once you got it to the new one, like slide people's auctions around and make it look pretty, right? So you got your top 10 and whatever. So you lost data. So I was doing data entry for like 25 hours a week. And, you were losing emails like in the transfer. So you had to go back and try to find all of that. Even after you did all this, even after I had the tech guy, they're like, yeah, we did it too, and you still lost 3% of the email, so you got to go and backfill it all. And then I had to get paper requests to get like the physical papers to do it. And all the while, like, I'm supposed to be checking like why, through the thing, like, why isn't this cert pictured with this card? Like, I had a hard time even getting to that, So what I will say is the company, they treated me like gold. They were paying me well, but they took a lot of stuff off of Dave's plate, and they just to get me there for the money and the travel and all this stuff. They threw a lot on my plate, like, too much. And even when I left an exit. I did a great exit interview, gave my 2 weeks. And the funny thing is Dave was like, you're giving me a real 2 weeks? I said, yeah, man, I'm not going to leave you hanging. Like, I mean, I'm leaving you hanging, but I'm not leaving you hanging. I was like, it's better to rip the Band-Aid off now and just, I know I don't belong here. Right. So, but anyway, so I was expecting to go in the next day and hand him, and like, they were just going to take my laptop and just revolve door me out to my car. But instead, they let me stay, and I helped them build the Jackie Robinson auction that was in their first Golden King of Collectibles.
The Netflix?
Yeah, Netflix. So it's funny that show started right as I was leaving. I was actually in the office when Dave fielded the phone call for the Steph Curry gold. They reenacted that gold card numbered out of 50, the rookie. So I was there for that. But anyways, so Dave was like, listen, he goes, I need to bring you with me to Maryland. He goes, we got to go to Cal Ripken Jr.'s warehouse or storage unit and get a bunch of merch. So we go down, I get to meet Cal Ripken, and, got to pull a bunch of Gamey's cleats and bats. And, I was breaking his agent's balls about his cell phone because he had a flip phone or whatever. And Dave's like, dude, stop. I was like, I'm out of here. Will you fire me? So,
well, so listen, man, I mean, I know this is probably going to have to go to a part 2 at some point. But I did want to leave some time for you to show some stuff, because that's half the battle while we're while we're here. So
we got people there. Yeah, we got people.
Oh, absolutely. So, we definitely have a good portion of people still watching. So I'm going to put the big screen on you. I want you to show whatever you feel, whatever. Yeah,
I'll start off with a heavy hitter. I mean, it's not a card, but I love the color on this. And this is a 1949 baseball magazine signed by the best players in the 40s, I think. Ted Williams, Joe DiMaggio, and Stan Musial. And of course, it's got the JSA LOA there. Only downside, it's got a little dig there, but it's like you don't really have much to choose from, as far as getting another one of these. But I just love the artistic rendition on this, and the colorization screams, late 1940s, early 1950s.
Yeah, it's beautiful. And you said you did get it authenticated with JSA.
It's JSA. It's got the sticker there and the letter on the back.
And that's your collection.
This is my personal collection. I'm not showing you stuff for sale. Just heads up,
That was my question. How much do you PC versus like keeping out there? I mean,
it's a balance. It's a balance. Yeah. I mean, I think I was watching one of Keith's episodes after he bought something for me at a show, and he like something that really rung true. And I'll give him credit for this. When he was talking about my channel and stuff, he was like, he puts, Lenny puts an interesting spin. So I'm talking to the third person. Lenny, he puts an interesting spin on, like, I guess, like a balance of like collecting versus buying and selling. The thing is for me, I'm so niche with autographs. Like, here's an example. So here's a 72 Reggie with his with an inscription. It's graded a 6 with a 10 auto grade. I just love signed vintage cards. I always have. And I feel that when you start going down the rabbit hole, you could go, well, how many inscriptions and how, you get multiple inscriptions, card grade, auto grade. Like it's kind of endless with that. But yeah, as far as collecting, it's a balance. I mean, sometimes I shut off the water, completely as far as like buying, because, you got to focus on, you don't want to dip really into your capital. You know what I mean? Sometimes I get lucky and I buy a collection and I could pull something out and the cost is very low. As a matter of fact, in one of my shows, I showed a graded card deal where I got into a SGC. Yeah, here it is. SGC 6 dead centered Reggie. Shit. Yep. And I paid, so after I bought this collection of graded cards and flipped it, I think I'm into this card for $20. And it's like $125 card, you know.
Love it.
But I kind of PC A's and Reds autographs. So like here's a nice, here would be a card that would be great, not signed or signed. But here's a 71 greatest moments Reggie.
I remember you showed me that.
Signed with Mr. October.
Oh, that's so cool.
How many? So that, I mean, how many are there? I mean, that's got to be one of.
I didn't check the pop report. I just know I paid low pop report prices. That's what I did. So, and then I just love the back. I mean, you gotta love the backs of these, you know. But just the color. I mean, that vintage yellow and green. I mean, it just gets me every time. And you know, they when they started doing uniforms, you know, in the 80s and like 86 Conseco, you know what I mean? Like they still had that. And that's like a part of my childhood. And then going back and revisiting what the A's did and the A's Reds rivalry. And it's just so cool. This is
so enamored by that 71 greatest moments, man. Autograph. That's crazy.
Here's a 70, was it 70? Yeah, 70 Reggie with a couple inscriptions on there. And these cards are great for signing. I mean, you know, if they're out of PSA holders, they're great for beer coasters, but you know, that's what I used to refer to them when I was younger. But you know, but these are great for signing. We got
love the oversized stuff too. That's always a win. That's great.
Yeah. And let's see. We got well, while we're on Reggie, I mean, I do have his signed rookie.
That's awesome.
So
what's the inscription on that?
Yeah, there's 3 inscriptions.
What does it say on that one?
This one is Hall of Fame 93, 563 home runs, Mr. October.
That's awesome.
We'll get to the red stuff in a second, my friend. But we got to go our 91 Flair Reggie.
Yes, 91 Flair all the way. All the way.
This was awesome. Like, so this guy, I talked to this guy, he actually hand cut it himself. And I had a conversation with him on eBay. He's like, I think they undergraded it a 4. The auto grade got a 10. And I'm looking at the card. I'm going, yeah, I mean, I'm not going to mess with it, but this card is like a 6 all day, you know?
So I have I don't want to go too far down into this, but when it comes to Transgrams, I had a conversation with Mangini about this on the train, about hand-cut cards in general. Hand-cut cards should either just be numbered or all of them authentic and just go by the condition after that.
I agree. That was a Vita Blue rookie with inscriptions. I also have a dual sign with Gene Tennis. Here's a Ricky Henderson, graded 7. No inscriptions, but graded 7.
That's great,
with a 10 auto grade. And I loved Ricky. I mean, how could you not? You know, and while we're on Ricky, you know, I have his 89 traded, which is actually, this card's tougher to get signed than his 80 tops because, you know, if you're going to shows and you're paying good money for Ricky, it's like you almost kind of want to get the rookie done, but you know, unfortunately lost the Rickster. So we'll get into some red stuff here. Let's get into some red stuff. Let's go Big Red Machine. So here we have we got a 64 Topps Cup card rose, just single sign, but it's a 310. You know,
yeah, that's pretty sweet.
I have a couple of those. Here's a 66 Topps Cup card. Peacemaker cards in the house. Where's Dave at? He's a Hall of Fame inscription, All-Star rookie.
Hopefully he's still here.
Yeah. If not, he could catch the replay. Here is a Johnny Bench rookie with 5 inscriptions.
That's wild.
It's Little General, Hall of Fame 89, 76 MVP, and like one other one. It's a little dark over here, but here's probably one of my favorite cards of all time. Oh wait. So you can get I wanted this card so bad when I was a kid and just couldn't afford it because it booked like $200 or $250. So this has got the Rookie of the Year inscription on it. But why stop there? Why not go with 9 inscriptions on the card?
I'm just glad he didn't cover his face.
No, it's actually I mean, But this is like one of my favorites. I mean, just because he did it so well. I mean, he only got a 8 on the auto grade because marker probably skipped somewhere, but it's all good. And then let's see. Then we got to do. Well, so what I did was, if you noticed, you saw the 72. I don't know if I showed the Raleigh fingers, but I figured, we'll show the Raleigh finger 72. So this Reggie Jackson, the 72 Reggie that I have, okay, this card was the catalyst of me putting together the 72 Topps A's team signed base set. So I have, in 1 month, I accumulated 25 out of the 31. So I went a little nuts with that, but I have them they're on display there because I'm waiting for the other ones to kind of pop up. But like Kurt Blayfair is a high number and yada, yada, yada. But so what started the 72s was I wanted to do the big red machine. So I have, we got, Joe Morgan on the traded.
Mm-hmm.
I got Tony Perez.
Incredible.
I got Sparky Anderson. I got, did I show you? Oh, George Foster. We got Dave Concepcion. We got Johnny Bench.
Mm.
And we got Pete Rose, inscribed Hit King. And that's all I have for the 72s. I want Cesar Geronimo. He also is a high number. I've seen a couple. They're in the 100 plus. There's another 72 Morgan, different one. Here's something that's pretty cool. This is the 84 Flair. This is probably the only license card where they have all, even though they're on the Phillies, where all 3 of those guys signed, and these are all on card. And I have another one, and I have another one sitting at PSA. I just love that card so much. But here's the other thing too. I have the magazine, the Sports Illustrated magazine, signed by all 3.
That's wild, man.
So
wow. You're gung ho about the autos.
Then while we're on, we got a 57 Mantle.
It's wild.
That's crazy.
Here's my boy Rose. Picked out some choice signed magazines. I love the it just captures such a time, the magazines. And we always talk about you guys always talk about the oversized. I don't care if it's oversized. Like, look how beautiful that is.
Yeah.
Stan the Man, come on a 53.
Fantastic signature.
Yeah.
Now we have some. Well, here's the thing. You guys got me into first of all, we'll finish off the autographs for now, and then we might, I don't want to keep everybody on, but here's a 70 Topps Pete Rose and multiple inscriptions.
Mm-hmm.
I love these when he's kneeling on the on deck circle, the 71s.
That's awesome.
I mean, that is just sweet. Charlie Hustle, come on. And then, you got to have one in red Sharpie too. Like, just, you could tell I'm a collector when you start seeing multiple same variations. I mean, but sometimes you got to buy, more. Like here's, a couple inscriptions, but different Johnny Bench signed rookies. By the way, a very undervalued card. It kills me that I forget the dealer who was next to Chapel Hill at Philly. He had a SGC 8 bench rookie, and it was like $1,200. I should have just bought it. I don't know why I didn't, but that card, that card is way undervalued. Anyways, at that Philly show, I got this. This is a unsigned 71. So this is kind of like the start of my unsigned. Like I'm starting to mess around with just pretty cards that are unsigned. So we got this Pete Rose over here. Oh no, that's Johnny Bench. And then I have Pete Rose here. So we got pocket 6s. Hopefully Jason's not going broke on pocket 6s. So
hopefully that's the winning hand for him, and he wins the $1 million.
I just picked up. I don't know if my friend Tom is in the show. Tom's he's got the long white hair. Sammy, you probably have seen him at shows locally in the Connecticut area. But I sold him. Yeah, I sold him my last 54 Top Scoops Ruth. I've been buying and selling that card for the last 15 years.
Mhm.
And so I just won one, or I just bought one on eBay. It's being shipped to me, but I got a 54 Top Scoops Ruth. It was dead centered, PSA 4. I was like, he had it at 400. I offered him 350. I don't know why I just thinking before, but he's a counter. It's 385. I was like, yep, done. Just send it. You know what I mean? And then I picked up a 53 Bowman Pee Wee Reese. Nice one that mistakenly is going to the vault, not coming to my hands. But yeah, 27 years in the business. 30 years ago, I got into sports, and I just want to do this, and we'll kind of cap it. And I wanted to talk about the custom card for Tanner Jones. So when I was a senior in high school, I was a part of one of the best basketball teams our school ever had. So we won the only state basketball championship, and we beat our rivals, St. Joseph. We were actually the underdog. We were seeded 2, they were seeded 1, and we won 56-54. And I scored 31 points and grabbed 19 rebounds in that game, and had like the game of my life. Now, throughout the whole season was always well balanced, but I wanted to do a card to commemorate it. And, you know, I think up until about 10 years ago, because like I didn't take it like to the next level, I had injuries. I actually played my whole senior season with a torn ACL.
Wow.
And got it repaired after. So I never made it into college or anything like that. And I was actually embarrassed because I was like, you know, supposed to like be good out of high school, you know, and just all these things just kind of happened. And I just kind of kept it on the hush. And then they did a 20th anniversary celebration back in 2015. And it really made me appreciate like what we did, because that was the only, not only is that still the only state title in the school today after 30 years, but it's the only state championship in the Valley for like 70 years. The last time anybody won one in the Valley in our area was in the 50s, like 1954 or something like that. So I wanted to do a card. And so I wanted to make it look vintage. So I was going back and forth with Tanner, and, you know, really nice guy, but when you're just typing stuff out and how you want stuff, he was sending me back. So I was like, nah, that's not how it is. So it's like, I'm going to show you what I want. Now, I'm a horrible artist, and you're going to see in a second. So this was what I came up with some newspaper, okay? This is what he came up with. So this is from a newspaper article, okay? And this is an oversized card. And because of the 3119, I always kind of reference it to like, you know, as of 10 years ago, I started throwing it around at like, you know, I'd be at a party with my friends and they would go political. I'm like, well, I don't know about all that, but I did score 31 points and grab 19 rebounds in the same game, in the state championship game. So that kind of became a thing, but it's a booklet. Okay. And it opens up, and we did a cut signature with Ed O'Neill as Al Bundy. And then here's my signature with a piece of the actual net that we cut down. And there's the net that is over my head. And then on the back, it's got the whole like story, like 101 Sports Kings. But he did a fantastic job. And on the inside, it's just basically like a little quote by Al Bundy. I kind of made something up where it was like, you know, I'll make him, you are now officially an honorary member, lifetime member of NOMAM, which is the National Organization of Men Against Amazonian Masterhood. And, you know, and that's it. And then I had him do, because I like the top supers, I had him do one with my coach, and I had lunch with my coach last year, and we both signed it. And there's a couple of copies of these out there. Like he's got one, I have a couple. So pretty cool.
That is pretty awesome.
That's really cool.
Awesome.
Look, just like your drawing too. That was amazing.
Yeah, he took that, and then I showed him.
Somehow.
Well, then I showed him this too. I showed him like this Gale Sayers card, which is, you know, kind of like the Gowdy cards with the, you know, Garrick says or whatever. But they did these back in the 90s, 97. And so I said, we could do something like that. That would be great. And then there's like a special case for it and everything too. So,
wow, phenomenal.
Well, listen, man, it's a great way to finish up. But I will say this much, Lenny, I will definitely have you back on again, because there's definitely more to discuss. Because I feel like you have a lot of insight, and I appreciate you taking the time to share some of it with us here and kind of give us a little bit of your backstory. And so, yeah, man, I mean, looking forward again to the next Philly show, of course.
Yeah, absolutely.
I know it's kind of not until September or so, but
September, yeah, yep.
But is there anything final you want to mention before we sign off?
Yes, I do. So, if anybody out there is ambitious and they're starting a YouTube channel, okay, and I just sent off. I come across so much stuff, and I am not asking anything in return. Maybe just to subscribe. But if you want, like, I just sent Jason, Everyday Card Collector, your co-host, a package. I sent Brent a package. I talked to Brent like 6 weeks ago, and I said, hey, send me your address. I got some cool Bagwell stuff and some other oddball items. I'm going to just, create a little slot in a sorting tray, put your name on it, and you can do whatever you want with it. If you want to put it on, fine. You want to give me a shout out, not a big deal. But like, if you don't have access to shows, or you just want a little, care package from CardKast, I'm not going to give you a random box of nothing. I will, if you subscribe to me, I'll subscribe to you. I'll check out your channel. I'll cater the box to you if I can do it. I mean, if you just collect T206 cards, we're probably not going to be able to do anything. But, if you, do a little bit of everything, vintage, modern, whatever, I will be more than happy. You just email me at cardcast@gmail.com. And I'll, you see me at a show, buy me a coffee. That's it. You know what I mean? High five me, give me a coffee, and we'll just, we'll chat it up, and I'll just send you stuff. You don't have to worry about shipping or anything. It's a business write-off for me. And, and I have more than enough stuff to just kind of spread around. So.
Awesome, man.
Wait. Oh, and tune into Mookie Chilson's channel, because I sent him a box. It's stuck in UPS, but he should have it in the next couple of days. He is going to get a very, very fun and funny box. So,
it's gonna look great in the Mookie Chilson World Headquarters.
Of course, he's going to love it.
Cool.
Infiltration. So.
All right, man.
Thank you everybody for watching. And if you have any other questions, send them over to Sammy for the next time. I mean, I'll be more than happy to answer any, behind the scenes questions if I can. For the most part, I'll try, I can't disclose everything, but I can disclose a lot. So
we'll definitely follow up for sure.
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you guys. Thank you so much. Aaron, very nice meeting you, man.
Amazing. Great to meet you.
Have a great night, everybody.
All right. Have a good night.
Yeah.